Hey everyone, and welcome to Street Smarts. I'm Alex Valle, former Street Fighter champion, tournament organizer, community mentor, lover of all fighting games. And today I'm here to teach you about the world of competitive Street Fighter. But before we get into the world of competitive Street Fighter, I'm going to take you guys back, all the way back to where this started, where I started, where the community started, just to get a glimpse of how we were then and how we are now. Alright, so if you guys remember Street Fighter 1, I was 9 years old, okay? I was super young at that time. And man, that game wasn't really played together. It was kind of like you played just to the computer, you beat Sagat, you get your ending, and that's it. So, I mean, the game was awesome. People liked it, but it didn't have the same impact as this game right here. Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 was the game that really brought everybody together, right? You can select from 8 fighters. The graphics are great. The music was awesome. It was available in every arcade, the convenience stores, pizza parlors, laundromats, you name it. So, and wow, you know what? I'm going to take you by the history. So if you guys seen one of these machines back then, you guys know what I'm talking about. So, oh man, this brings back so much memory because there was like 10 to 15 people, 20 people around each one of these machines. Nobody knew what they were doing. I didn't even know what I was doing. I had to pick Chun-Li to kind of figure out like how to do her special moves. And I figured out her lightning legs was just to push the kick buttons really fast. So, but as styles started to form and people figured out the moves, the game matured and Champion Edition came out, Hyper Fighting, Super Turbo, and all those great Street Fighter 2 games came out. And people started to get really good. So for me, Street Fighter Alpha is where I started to shine. This is the era where I became the Street Fighter champion for the US. And there was no easy feat because remember, I was that kid just trying to mash lightning legs all day, playing Ken and barely started doing uppercuts to where now I have, a good grasp of the history of the competitive world of arcades and any convenience stores that were around. But Street Fighter Alpha 2 was the one that really launched my my championship career, playing and winning my first major event. And I was like only 18 at the time. So, but such great history. And, then we were still playing on, American arcade sticks and they were big and, our hands were getting kind of beat up. But that was just the American style of things because everybody was mashing the sticks back then still. So, but many great memories there. I fought Daigo Umehara in 1998 for the World Championship. And Daigo took it. And he was that new kid around the block. I think he was only like 17 years old. I was, in my 20s already. And I was starting to see this new generation of world international competitors come into the scene. So from just seeing the game to seeing the people, it's always been about the people. And you've seen the infamous match with Daigo Umehara and Justin Wong in the game called Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and that famous Evo Moment 37 where Daigo parried Justin's Chun-Li Super to get the win. That was amazing. Everybody got crazy, and the competition was spread like wildfire, internationally. Then, unfortunately, there was no Street Fighters until for like 8 years later or something. So Street Fighter 4 came out. It was like a godsend. It's like, wow, Capcom's actually coming back with another Street Fighter. And, I was way seasoned at the time, 2008, 2009. But there was a whole new generation of players that didn't really know how to play Street Fighter yet. It was their first Street Fighter. And I took it upon myself, and many of the old school cats, came out there and said, hey, you know what? This is how to play Street Fighter. Let's start creating events. One of my good friends and mentor, Jimmy Nguyen, in SoCal, we got together and we started creating these awesome events, weekly events, online events, major tournaments. And Street Fighter 4 it just started the next renaissance of competition. And here we are today with Street Fighter 5. And, I'm fortunate enough to help you guys to get your start in the world of Street Fighter competition. Alright guys, we're ready to play some Street Fighter, but before getting into that character select screen, you gotta figure out what you're gonna play on. And a lot of people overlook this stuff because they just want to mash buttons and get into it. But what's important about this stuff is that you gotta know what your hands are comfortable with. So if you guys recall, I was talking about the history of Street Fighter, you probably saw one of these. I mean, not in this size, but in regular scale, right? And the controllers were pretty hard because, you know, at least in the American arcades, you had to play on like what's considered a bat top, and people are just mashing buttons, they don't know what to do. So it wasn't really the most optimal to use for everyone. And as Street Fighter became more of a console-based or available on consoles and the PC, people had a choice of what you can use for a peripheral. So me, I mean, I have like some meaty hands here, not very small, so I do require a bit of space. And the stick that I currently use is the Fighting Edge from Hori. It's got Japanese parts. It's got nice placement for the palm, so you know I have enough breathing room. And the buttons are, you know, this is all Japanese based. What you would see in a Japanese arcade cabinet, it fits really well with your fingers. So you can kind of slide, depending on your technique and how you play, you can slide the buttons or you can play without hurting your hands. Because in American sticks, like these, back in the days, they were all straight in the line. And that, to some people, it hurt their hands. Or you may not be too fond of playing on a fight stick, and it's okay. Some people play on your pad. This is a gamepad. This is the stock DualShock controller that comes with the PlayStation 4. Right out the gates, you're ready to play some Street Fighter. It's, you know, some of the best players in the world right now, like Knuckle Doo, Punk, and, you know, Luffy. They play on a gamepad. So don't feel bad if, you know, you don't want to catch up with the old school guys. What's most important is that you know what works with your hands so you can execute the moves to play your match. You know your history, you know what peripheral you're going to use. Now it's time to select your character. This is extremely important because selecting your character is a part of you. It's about your personality. It's about what interests you about this game. Many people can choose to pick like, oh, who are the best players in the world using? I want to use their characters. That could be an option, but my suggestion is to pick a character that you feel great about. It doesn't matter how good or bad they are. It's about what keeps you vested in the game. For me, I'm a Ryu player because I like an all-around type feel. You know, I want to control the pace of the game. And then there's people that can pick, oh no, I want to pick an evil guy. I want to pick Akuma. He looks so cool. The looks of a character, play them, right? If you want to play a fast, very fast and agile character, a ninja character like Ibuki, play that character. So you see where I'm getting at. It's what interests you about the character personality. It goes hand in hand to your playstyle, which you will figure out. Alright guys, we're ready to play some Street Fighter, and we're going to start with some fundamentals of this game. And to do that, you're going to have to learn about FOOTIES, which is also called the neutral. You're going to need to know about frame data. You're going to need to know what game style, gameplay that you want to play as, like a rushdown, defensive play, grappler, and then of course you're going to have to learn meter management. So for the first part, we're going to talk about FOOTIES, which typically means the neutral game. Where you are in the screen determines what attacks you're going to use. So say for instance, if you're going to be very close to your opponent, the quick attacks are probably going to be the go-tos, right? Because each attack does reward you, a different set of advantages and disadvantages. And if you're playing more of the mid-range, which is a little bit more spaced out, now you're going to have to use longer ranged moves in order to close in the attacks. And same, of course, if you play from full screen. Now, some characters may be limited to the amount of attacks that can reach your opponent. My character, Ryu, I can reach him by throwing a fireball, right? Or I can kind of jump in to close the distance. But not every character is going to be able to do that. A character like Dalsum, he has long limbs, and he might be able to reach from full screen and torment you that way. So it's very, very important what you use in every single range of the stage. Frame data goes hand in hand to the neutral game or the footsie games, because you have to know which moves are safe or unsafe, or have advantage or disadvantage. So let's just say Ryu's slowest move is his sweep. Has a lot of, you can see how slow it is compared to his jab, right? A jab is really, really hard and not practical to punish. But the sweep is. If I miss a sweep at this range, most characters can hit me before I'm able to block again. So you're going to have to, and this is the basis of frame data, because you need to know how fast or how slow each one of your attacks are. This includes special moves and critical arts. So please explore your characters fully to understand which moves are going to give you the most advantage, because that's where you're going to get the KO. More so if you're disadvantaged, and you may lose the round. So good luck. Okay, next we're going to go into what style of play you're going to be. All right, or you're going to compete as. So with Ryu, the character that I picked here, he's very versatile. He can play in your face, very rush down if he wants to, or he can kind of play such a zone and kind of slow and methodical pace, and just like throw fireballs until you jump over them, and I can do my traditional uppercut, and if they jump over it, and that's kind of sets that pace of play. Or I can go all the way in the back and barely do anything, because I have the life lead and they have to get me, right? So there's many ways I can play this character, and that's why I like using Ryu, because he's very versatile. Alright guys, one of the most infamous styles in Street Fighter V is Rushdown. So Karen is one of the characters that makes the Rushdown style really, really shine in the world of Street Fighter. She is really fast and she does a lot of damage, and she's used by some of the best players in the world. Like, look at these normals, right? When I was talking about playing a footsie game, look the walk speed that she has and her ability to get in close to the opponent to inflict a lot of damage. And there you have it. Okay, another notorious style is the turtle or the zoner style. So the turtle or zoner style, that just means you're a very defensive player. And the character that comes to mind is Guile. Guile, he doesn't have the extensive fireball motions where you have to curl the joystick or move the thumb over to perform your special move. You just hold back, and then you tap forward after a few seconds, and you throw a sonic boom. And this is the quickest fireballs in the game. And this really, really sets the tone in every range, from up close to far away. And what this creates, it creates the opponent to be very impatient. And when they're impatient and they want to jump in, you do his infamous flash kick. So this is a very notorious style because it's one of the most important styles for many characters. Many characters, like Guile, excel in the defensive realm. But don't be fooled. Guile can also be very offensive too. He's got many moves that can close the gap and really change the pace. And you're like, wow, I thought he can only be played as a defensive zoning character. Not necessarily. But he is known to play defensively because that's where his attacks shine the most. Alright, for this next style of gameplay, we have the Grappler. And of course, we're going to pick my man Zangief, because from that range, you can throw your opponent right off the bat. How scary is that, right? So you got to be really careful on defending versus this character, because there is no escape from his spinning power driver. You cannot escape it if you're in range. Normally you can tech or evade a normal throw, but not the spinning power driver, right? So some of you guys, you don't want to play an ultra aggressive character. Some of you guys may not play a defensive character, but you want to play something very unique, and you like throwing, and it's what a wrestler does, right? So this character is very slow. I mean, you can't give him everything, right? Because he does a lot of damage once he gets in. And that's the beauty of Zangief, because he doesn't really have to land the spinning power driver. He can just do his big, strong moves once he's close. When he is close, his moves become much more deadly because they do a lot of damage and they can net you some crush counters. So don't be fooled. Once he's in, he can be very, very aggressive, or he can just wait and see if you're panicking and trying to jump away from his spinning power driver, and he can get you. And you can't really jump in on him either because he has his lariat. So this grapple style can kind of group into a rushdown once you're in, and just keep looping a spinning power driver to jumping in, get another throw, and then your opponent's done. So this is one of those styles where it takes a while to get used to, but the reward is probably the greatest out of every style there is. So good luck on this one. All right, one of my new favorite characters in the world of Street Fighter V is Kage. Now, on the surface, he may look like a crazy looking character, which I gravitate to, but he is a mix-up heavy powerhouse character. And this character is very fast. He's agile, doesn't have that much health. Most characters that do have a lot of mix-up potential don't have a lot of health. Like, for instance, Ibuki or Karen, Akuma, those type of characters. So you got to be really careful on how you approach, because you can play ultra aggressive, but where they shine is their mix-ups as well. And say, for instance, for Kage, with this V trigger that he has, he can do a quick dash punch, or he can teleport and mix you up from the other side. Little things like that add a little bit more flavor to the traditional, like, Shotokan style, like Ryu just throwing fireballs and then getting in another range and throwing more fireballs and uppercuts. That's very traditional. Kage doesn't really have stuff like that, because his fireball is just very close proximity range, or he has his red fireball, which does go full screen, but it has a bit of a startup. So with Kage, you can inflict so much damage all around and corner carry. Look at that nice damage that he has, right? You can also mix up your opponent by going or getting in. So wild, right? Like, you wouldn't think a character like this in Street Fighter would exist, but there's a little bit of many styles in this game. And I mean, Kage, you can still play offensively or defensively, but that element of mix-up, Ryu doesn't have, or Ken doesn't have, or lack thereof. So it's your job to figure out where your character shines in that type of category. So please explore characters like Kage, Ibuki, and many characters in the games that can really mess up your opponent's minds, from cross-ups to corner carries to critical arts and all the craziness that comes with it. Alright guys, let's talk about that meter management. And in Street Fighter, meters were born in Super Turbo. And Super Turbo was the very first Street Fighter game that had a super meter, and everybody just had one super. Here we are in Street Fighter V. Some characters have multiple supers. Some characters have multiple V-triggers. And all of these things will completely determine how you're going to defend yourself, or you're going to seal the deal and get that round. And for the character of my choice, of course, is Kage, and he's very dependent on meter because that's where he gets most of his damage. For instance, if I'm doing his bread and butter combo that I want to corner carry with, I've already used 1 bar, so I can no longer do his super because you need 3 bars in order to do his critical art. And that means that I have to gain the meter back again. So in order to get meter again, you're going to have to fight for it, right? You can't build meter, or you build the least amount of meter if you don't touch your opponent. If you hit your opponent, you get the most amount of meter back. If they block your attacks, you still get a little bit of meter, but it's better than nothing. So you have to pick and choose wisely where you're going to start creating your plays in order to maximize your damage. So you see the combo that I did. Actually, start that again. See, the combo of choice that I do without any meter is that, which is 342. With meter, which is my critical art, it's from 342 to 482. So you see the big difference in meter management. Sure, you can win games with no meter and whatsoever, and you can depend on your footsie game, your game style, and whatnot. But sometimes you're gonna need that extra damage to seal the deal, defensively and offensively, and especially still with your V triggers too. When you activate, this will help you in your neutral game to get the damage that you need. So every character has many different ways to gain V trigger, to gain your meter for supers. So please choose your normals wisely, because that will cost you the game if you don't have enough to finish the round. So good luck, guys. All right, guys, that was a lot of Street Fighter. So, but it's a good thing, you know. I wanted to get you guys ready to compete. You know, this is the stuff that that I was excited for when I got into this thing. So, you know, from figuring out what peripherals you're gonna play on, to what characters you're gonna pick, to the game styles, if you're gonna be a rushdown guy or you're just gonna be a turtle, whatever you're gonna do to like torment your opponent, because that's what brings the fun and joy about this thing. You get to feel all this stuff, right? And you know, some of you may have like more questions and figure out, man, you know, Alex, it's still kind of hard and I'm still not there, and that's okay. You know, it took a lot of us to kind of figure this stuff out. Word of mouth, you know, our mentors, our peers, community members, and that's why I'm here, and that's what many other pro players and tournament organizers feel free to reach out to us. In the East Coast, West Coast, worldwide, whatever continent you are, there is an event. You know, the Capcom Pro Tour is a worldwide event, and that wouldn't have been built without the community leaders that we have in place today. So if you want to reach somebody like me on Twitter, you can reach out to me at the Alex Valle. And, you know, I cannot wait to hear from you guys and get you guys ready for the next event. So feel free, reach out to me and let's get you started.